Welcome to our deep dive, especially for those of you out there, building your coaching practices. Today, we're really going to get into reframing. And to do that, we are going to use the book Reframing, Neuro-Linguistic Programming and the Transformation of Meaning.
Okay.
Now, reframing can be this really powerful tool, not just for your clients, but also for you on your own coaching journey.
Absolutely.
And it can really help you, grow your impact, attract those, dream clients, and really build that business that you love.
Yeah, a lot of times people think that reframing is kind of like putting on those rose-colored glasses,
Right.
not really dealing with reality.
Yeah.
But the thing about reframing is that it's really recognizing that there are so many ways to look at a certain situation.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And how we can use that as coaches to help ourselves and our clients get unstuck.
Oh, I like that. Get unstuck.
Yeah, break free from those limiting beliefs and step into that place of empowerment.
Right.
You
So it's kind of like you're taking, a picture and you're holding it up to different light sources.
Yeah.
The picture itself doesn't change, but how you perceive it is completely different.
It's a great analogy, and you can really see how that can be such a game changer in coaching.
Totally.
Like, let's say you have a client that comes to you, and they feel stuck in a dead-end job, and they feel like they just don't have any purpose.
Right.
No direction.
They feel hopeless.
And they see their situation as just hopeless, yeah.
Yeah.
Reframing can help.
Okay, so let's imagine, this client comes to you and they feel this way, this trapped feeling.
Yeah.
Because they feel like, well, I need to stay in this job because I need that security, that financial security, even though it's killing me.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, they're feeling like that's the thing they need, right?
Yeah.
It's that financial security.
Right.
And a skilled coach can help them reframe that, that stuckness.
That stuckness, yeah.
By exploring, well, what's the intention behind that need?
Right.
What is it in them, that need for security? What is it trying to do?
Maybe it's to provide for their family.
Yes.
Or maintain a certain lifestyle.
Absolutely. Or even just, that feeling of safety and stability that provides.
Right.
But what if we could help them see that security doesn't have to be tied to one job?
Right.
What if it can come from their own resourcefulness?
That's a great point.
Or aligning their work with their passion.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So instead of that security being the thing that keeps them trapped, it's the thing that helps them break free.
Exactly.
To pursue their passion. Yeah.
It's a total shift.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool about reframing is like it allows people to see that potential within themselves.
Right.
And take action that maybe they never thought possible.
Wow. That is powerful. Now, the book also goes into talking about these parts within us.
Yes.
And how those parts can be, in conflicts.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like this is something that's very relevant to the coaching journey as well.
Oh, for sure. And I think it's helpful to think of these parts as like different aspects of our personality.
Okay.
Yeah.
With
their own values,
right.
Their own beliefs, their own motivations.
Like their own little people inside of us.
Yeah, like a little internal committee or something.
Right, exactly.
So you might have one part that's like, the ambitious go-getter wants to build this thriving business. And then you have another part that might be the fearful perfectionist.
Oh, yeah.
That's like terrified of putting themselves out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Afraid
of failing.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of coaches, especially when they're starting out, can really relate to that.
Absolutely. You want to go all in, but you've got that fear holding you back.
Right, exactly.
It's a common thing. And that's why, this concept of parts is so important. Because if we can understand that, those seemingly conflicting parts are actually all trying to do something good for us.
Oh, that's interesting.
It can be a huge breakthrough.
So instead of trying to shut them up or get rid of them, we actually want to get to know them.
We want to understand them. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Like, let's say you have that coach that's afraid to put themselves out there.
Okay.
Instead of labeling that fear as bad or trying to just, white knuckle it and ignore it, what if they were to ask, what is this part trying to protect me from? What are its concerns?
That's a good question.
Right.
Yeah.
And that opens up a whole new conversation.
Yeah, it does.
Because maybe it's worried about, financial instability.
Right.
Maybe it's worried about judgment from others.
Totally.
Or maybe even success itself.
Right.
That's
a good point, yeah.
There are all kinds of things that could be going on under the surface.
So by actually bringing it to the surface, then we can actually address it.
We can deal with it directly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe they need to create a stronger financial plan or work on their confidence, or maybe even just, redefine what success means to them.
Exactly.
Right.
And so it's just amazing how simply understanding what those parts are trying to do for us can shift things so dramatically.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah, it is. It's fascinating that I don't know, that just by understanding what they're trying to do,
Yeah.
For us,
Yeah.
it can create that shift. Now, the book also gives us a great example of a man who was trying to concentrate on this lecture.
Uh-huh.
But he's consumed with worries about his business.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think a lot of us, can relate to that feeling of being pulled in different directions.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, who hasn't been there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So how did reframing help him?
Well, instead of trying to force himself to ignore those business concerns, he was actually encouraged to acknowledge that part, the business worrying part.
Right.
And he realized that part was just trying to, protect his livelihood, make sure things were going well. And so by acknowledging that positive intention, he was able to make a little agreement with it.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. He's like, okay, I hear you. We're going to set aside some time later today.
Right.
To deal with those business concerns.
Oh, that's a good strategy.
Right.
Yeah.
And that freed up his mind to actually be present for the lecture.
So it's like those parts were finally able to work together.
Exactly. They found a way to cooperate instead of fighting each other.
Right, instead of battling.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think that same principle can really be applied to a lot of things that coaches face.
Oh, for sure.
Whether it's managing their time, setting boundaries, overcoming self-doubt.
Absolutely.
So it's really, really helpful for that.
It can make a big difference.
Now, the book also talks about, sometimes we need to create entirely new parts.
Yes.
When clients, are lacking certain skills or behaviors that are really essential for success.
Yeah, sometimes, just shifting the perspective isn't enough.
Right.
Sometimes they need like a whole new set of tools and behaviors
to
really get where they want to go.
It's almost like I don't know, like giving their internal operating system a software upgrade or something.
I love that analogy. Yeah, it's like they're getting a whole new program installed.
Right.
To help them handle, specific challenges.
Okay, so give me an example of that.
Okay, so let's say you have a client who, dreams of being like a sought-after speaker. But they're terrified of public speaking.
Oh, okay.
Right. Reframing alone might not be enough to get over that fear.
Right.
They may need to develop a whole new confident speaker part.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not just about shifting their perspective, but actually like building a new capability.
Exactly.
Within them.
Yeah, this new part wouldn't erase the fear.
Right.
But it would give them the tools, the beliefs, the behaviors that they need to actually get up on that stage and deliver a powerful presentation.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, how do you actually go about creating a new part for a client?
Well, first, you work with them to identify the specific skills and behaviors that are associated with this new part.
Okay.
So in the case of the confident speaker, it might be, strong vocal projection, engaging storytelling, the ability to connect with the audience.
So we're really breaking down that desired outcome into its core elements.
Exactly. And then you would guide them through visualizations,
Okay.
Help them really imagine themselves embodying these new behaviors successfully.
So it's almost like giving their brain a dress rehearsal.
Yeah. It's like, giving them a preview of what success looks like and feels like.
Right.
And that helps to build those neural pathways and create that sense of, I can do this.
I can do this.
Yeah.
Wow.
And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
To make sure that this new part really integrates smoothly with their existing system, you also want to address any potential objections or resistance from other parts.
Okay.
Right?
That makes sense.
Yeah, because those old familiar parts, they can be pretty stubborn sometimes. They don't want to give up their control.
Right.
So you might actually have a conversation with the client's fearful part and acknowledge its concerns and let it know, hey, this new part is not meant to replace you.
Right.
Or diminish you in any way.
Right.
It's just adding a valuable tool to your toolbox.
It's like we're mediating a truce between these different parts of them,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and by integrating that new part in a way that honors all the parts, you're setting them up for lasting change.
Yeah, wow. This is really powerful stuff, and we're just scratching the surface here.
We are just getting started.
But I am really intrigued by this idea of installing these new parts.
Yeah.
And I'm sure listeners are too.
There's a lot more to uncover, and I'm excited to dive deeper in the next segment.
Okay.
We're going to talk about that 6-step reframing model from the book,
Oh, yeah.
which gives you a really clear framework for guiding your clients and yourself
Right.
through this process of change.
So we're gonna unpack that.
We are.
Awesome. I can't wait. This is really groundbreaking stuff for coaches who are ready to, take it to the next level.
Absolutely. It's going to be good.
All right. Stay tuned, coaches. All right. So we're back, and we're going to dig into this 6-step reframing model.
Yes.
From the book.
It's so good.
And I think this can be really transformative.
Totally.
For coaches to use.
It's a really practical roadmap, to guide your clients through that process of reframing.
Okay.
And the cool thing is you can use it for pretty much anything,
Right.
Limiting beliefs, negative self-talk, relationship issues, career obstacles, you name it.
Yeah. It's pretty versatile.
It is.
So let's break it down. Where do we start with this model?
Well, step 1 is all about identifying the unwanted behavior.
Okay.
Or feeling that your client wants to change.
Okay.
So this could be procrastination, anxiety, self-sabotage, fear of public speaking, whatever it is that they're struggling with.
Okay.
But it's important to be specific.
Okay.
So instead of just saying, I'm stressed, they would need to pinpoint, what are the specific behaviors or situations that trigger that stress?
So really get clear on what it is.
Yeah, because the clearer the definition, the more effective the reframe is going to be.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And once you've got that unwanted behavior or feeling nailed down, then step 2 is we want to establish communication with the part that's responsible for it.
Okay, so this is where those parts come back in.
Exactly. It all ties together. You can explain to your client, hey, we all have these different parts inside of us.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're operating, outside of our conscious awareness.
Right.
And they have good intentions, even if their actions don't always seem helpful.
Okay.
So it's about approaching this part with curiosity.
Okay.
With understanding rather than judgment.
So how would we talk to that part?
You could ask questions like, if this part could speak, what would it say?
Oh, that's a good one.
What's it trying to do for you?
Right.
What does it want you to know?
Wow. That's powerful.
It can be really eye-opening to have that conversation.
Yeah. And a little strange, maybe, at first.
Maybe, but it's worth it.
Okay, so what's the next step?
Step 3 is all about understanding that positive intention.
Oh,
why is this part doing what it's doing?
Okay.
And this is huge because it shifts the client's perspective from seeing this part as an enemy to seeing it as a valuable ally.
Right, okay.
Even if it's misguided sometimes.
Okay.
So even those behaviors that seem negative or self-sabotaging, they're actually trying to achieve something positive.
Okay, so even though it might not look like it on the surface, they're actually trying to help.
Yeah, they're trying to protect the client from harm or maintain a sense of control or avoid vulnerability.
Okay.
But you really got to listen to the client's responses here.
Okay.
Because that positive intention might not always be obvious.
It might be hidden, yeah.
Yeah. And this step is all about uncovering that.
So we're moving from kind of self-criticism
Yes.
to self-compassion.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so once they understand that positive intention, then what?
Okay, so step 4 is where the magic happens. This is where we generate alternative behaviors that can satisfy that same intention,
Okay.
but in a way that's more constructive, more empowering.
Okay.
So it's like we're giving that part a new set of tools
Right.
to work with
Okay.
that are actually going to support the client.
All right, so give me an example of that.
Okay, so let's say your client's procrastination is driven by a fear of failure.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
You could help them brainstorm ways to manage that fear without resorting to procrastination.
Okay.
So maybe that's breaking down tasks into smaller steps,
Right.
setting realistic deadlines, or finding an accountability partner,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
things like that.
So instead of that fear being this roadblock.
Yeah.
We're finding a way to work with it.
We're finding a way around it
Yeah.
to get to the desired outcome.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. And so once you've come up with some alternative behaviors, then it's time for step 5, which is future pacing.
Future pacing, okay.
And this is where we help the client mentally rehearse those new behaviors in different situations.
Okay.
So we're basically giving their brain a preview of success.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So you could ask them, imagine yourself in that situation, but this time you're using these new strategies.
Okay.
What does it feel like?
Right.
What do you see? What do you hear? What do you experience?
So we're rewiring their brain for success.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's like creating those new neural pathways.
Right.
And building confidence in their ability to handle things differently.
So what's the last step?
All right, so step 6 is the ecological check.
Ecological check, okay.
This is super important to make sure that those new behaviors aren't going to create any unintended negative consequences.
Right, okay.
So you might ask your client, okay, how would these new behaviors impact your relationships with others? Are there any potential downsides that you can see?
Okay.
Any parts of you that might object to these changes?
So it's like a quality control check.
It is.
Before we implement these new strategies.
Exactly. We want to make sure it's all good.
Right, make sure it's going to work.
Yeah, because we want these changes to be sustainable.
Right.
And beneficial for the client in all areas of their life.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point.
Exactly.
So that's the 6-step model.
That's it in a nutshell.
Wow, that's brilliant. I'm already seeing how powerful that is.
It's a game changer.
Yeah, it is. But, we've been talking about using this with clients.
Right.
But what about us as coaches?
Oh, good point.
We
need to reframe, too.
Yeah, we need to use these tools on ourselves.
Absolutely. We're not immune to challenges.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's self-doubt.
Yes.
Imposter syndrome.
Uh-huh.
Marketing hurdles, pressure to get results. I mean, it can be a lot.
It's a lot, for sure. And I think a lot of coaches, especially when they're first starting out,
right?
They struggle with that feeling of not being good enough, not having all the answers.
Yeah. Who am I to do this?
Exactly. And that's where reframing can be so helpful.
Okay, so how can we use it for that?
Well, instead of getting stuck in that self-doubt spiral,
right,
we can reframe it.
Okay.
So, for example, instead of seeing ourselves as imposters,
right,
what if we saw ourselves as works in progress?
Works in progress.
Yeah, because every coach is constantly learning and growing no matter how experienced they are.
Yeah. That's true.
It's all about embracing that growth mindset.
Okay.
Seeing challenges as opportunities rather than as proof that we're not good enough.
Right. And when we can embody that ourselves, then we can actually be more effective.
Absolutely.
At helping our clients do that too.
You got to walk the walk,
right. Yeah. Now, the book also talks about how reframing can be really helpful for attracting clients.
Yes.
And building a sustainable business.
Yeah, that's a big one. A lot of coaches struggle with that.
Yeah.
They approach marketing and sales with dread.
Yeah.
They're uncomfortable talking about money.
Right.
But what if we could reframe those experiences?
Okay. How would we do that?
Well, instead of seeing marketing as self-promotion, what if we saw it as service? Yeah.
Okay.
Because it really is about sharing our gifts with the world and attracting those ideal clients who resonate with our message and who we can genuinely help.
Wow. I like that. It really takes the pressure off too.
It does. It takes the focus off of us and puts it on who we're serving.
Right.
And when it comes to money, a lot of coaches struggle with their fees.
Right.
But what if we reframe them not as a burden on the client, but as an investment in their transformation?
Right.
Because when clients invest in themselves, they're more likely to be committed to the process and to actually get results.
So it's a shift in the focus there.
It is. It's a total shift in perspective. And it's about recognizing the value that we bring and aligning our financial abundance with the impact that we're making in the world.
I love that. And reframing can also help us with those everyday challenges of running a business.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Dealing with difficult clients.
Managing
time effectively, setting boundaries.
Oh, yeah, boundaries. I think a lot of coaches struggle with that.
Yeah, especially those of us who are naturally empathetic and want to help everyone.
Right.
It's easy to overwork and burn out.
Totally.
But here's the reframe. Instead of seeing boundaries as selfish or restrictive,
Okay.
what if we saw them as acts of self-care
Okay.
and self-respect?
Self-respect, yeah.
Because when we set those boundaries, we're protecting our energy.
Uh-huh.
We're making sure we can show up fully for our clients and for ourselves.
Wow. That is so powerful.
Yeah.
It's really reframing it from I'm being mean
Yes.
to I'm taking care of myself
Exactly.
so that I can take care of others.
It's essential for well-being and for the sustainability of our business.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like putting on your own oxygen mask first.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, you can't help anyone if you're passed out in the aisle.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, reframing is just, it's huge. It can really unlock a world of possibilities.
It is.
Not just for our clients, but for ourselves as coaches, too.
Yeah, this has been incredible. And, we've really gone deep on reframing.
We have.
But I'm really excited because in our next segment,
Yes,
we're going to get even more practical.
we are.
We're going to talk about specific language patterns and techniques
Yes.
that coaches can use to really guide their clients through those transformative reframes.
I can't wait.
Yeah, me too. All right, so stay tuned, coaches. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, coaches. We are going to get really practical here.
Yes.
We're going to look at specific language patterns,
yeah.
techniques
Yeah.
that you can use
Okay.
to help your clients shift their perspective,
Right.
create lasting change.
It's like having this secret language
Oh,
that unlocks all this hidden potential.
I love that.
Yeah.
So let's start with content reframing.
Okay.
How do we use this?
So let's imagine your client comes in and they say, oh, I'm such a terrible procrastinator.
Okay.
Instead of agreeing with them
Right.
or offering unsolicited advice, you could use a content reframe to shift their focus.
Okay.
So you might say something like, it sounds like you're really good at prioritizing tasks.
Okay.
Like focusing on what feels most important at the moment.
Uh-huh.
So let's explore how we can use that skill to create a system that supports you in achieving your goals.
Okay, so instead of them kind of beating themselves up,
Right.
we're actually looking for like the strength
Yes,
in that behavior.
exactly. We're finding the positive
Yeah.
in what they're already doing
Okay.
and then leveraging that
Right.
to create something even better.
So it's like we're seeing that procrastination not as this, horrible thing,
Yeah.
but as a skill that maybe just needs to be I don't know,
Refined.
refined.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about meaning reframing?
All right, so meaning reframing. Let's say you have a client who's going through a tough career transition.
Okay.
And they're really scared.
Right.
They might say something like, I'm a complete failure. I should have done so much more by now.
Oh yeah, that negative self-talk.
The inner critic is loud.
Yeah.
So a meaning reframe could involve shifting the focus from past regrets to future possibilities.
Mhm.
So you could say, this transition, while challenging, is an incredible opportunity
Okay.
to really define what success means to you.
Right.
It's a chance to create a life that truly lights you up.
So instead of looking back with regret, we're helping them look forward with excitement.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. Now, what about those situations where our clients are like battling themselves?
Oh, yeah, the inner conflict. We've all been there.
They've got these conflicting parts.
Uh-huh.
How can we use reframing to help them with that?
Well, remember those parts we talked about?
Right.
When those parts are in conflict,
Uh-huh.
we can use these language patterns to help them have a conversation
Okay.
with each other.
Okay.
So for example, if a client says, I really want to start my own business, but I'm so scared of failing,
Right. A classic one.
we can acknowledge both sides.
Okay.
Right. You could say, wow, it's amazing that you have that entrepreneurial spirit. And it makes sense that you also have this part that wants to keep you safe.
Right.
So let's see if we can find a way for both of those parts to feel heard.
So we're honoring both.
We're holding space for both.
Okay, so we're not telling them to ignore their fear.
No.
We're saying, okay, let's understand this fear.
Yeah, let's get curious about it.
And often through that conversation, they might realize, oh, this fearful part just wants to make sure I have a good plan.
Exactly. Or maybe it wants to know that they have support.
Right. So it's really about helping those parts work together instead of against each other.
It's about creating harmony.
Harmony, I love that.
Yeah.
All right, so this has been amazing. I'm already thinking about how I can use these patterns in my own coaching.
Me too. It's so powerful.
But it's not just for clients. right?
No, we can use this for ourselves too. If you're feeling overwhelmed or struggling with self-doubt, try using these same techniques on yourself.
Oh, yeah. That's a great reminder. We're not just teaching this, we're living it.
Exactly. We're walking the walk.
Yeah. So, listeners, I really encourage you to embrace this power of reframing. Use it to transform your coaching practice, empower your clients, and really create that life that you love.
Reframe, shine, and make a difference.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into reframing. This has been really eye-opening, and we will be back next week with another fascinating topic and more practical strategies to help you elevate your coaching. Until then, keep those reframing muscles working.